check this out. I mean, it is so beautiful outside on this mountain road, but actually, you know what? That's not as beautiful as what's behind me right now. Got the McLaren 665LT, and this thing is looking so unreal out here right now. I mean, the way the Papaya Spark paint just shines and glistens in the sun, it is just so amazing. I am so hooked on it. It's like gold, but then orange. I don't even know how to describe it. The car looks so good with this color, and it's the same color they use, you know, in their F1 racing team for those cars. So this is a very, very iconic McLaren color right here. Today we're out here trying to get a good feel for this car compared to the new 765LT McLaren because, well, if you saw the last video, the previous video, I had the chance to drive that car out here, and I was just blown away. The way the thing accelerates, it is just unreal. As many of you know, it can do a 9-second quarter mile, 800 horsepower. So that is just huge for a car that weighs less than 3,000 pounds. You got to realize that no other car has that kind of power to weight ratio that is, you know, that affordable. I know it's a lot of money, it's like $500,000, but you got to realize back in the day, if you wanted that much horsepower, the cars they costed close to $1 million, if not more, like the LaFerrari and so forth. And it's faster. So here's the plan. We're gonna hop inside the McLaren 665LT and go drive on this very technical road and get a good feel for it. Then after that, we're gonna put the video side by side with the video that I shot with the 765LT McLaren to truly find out how different they really are. On the same exact road. This is just the next day, basically. So for a quick rundown, this car has 592 horsepower. It also uses gyro disc brakes, which I changed out from the stock carbon fiber brakes, well, because they are much more affordable to run on the racetrack. The carbons cost thousands and thousands of dollars more, and you change them much more often at the racetrack. However, though, with carbon ceramic rotors, you are actually faster because there's less rotating mass in inertia. Also, I have wider tires on this vehicle, that being 235s up front and then 305s out back. Originally, the 600LT comes with 225s, I believe, stock up front, and then 285s out back, which, in my opinion, if you buy a 600LT, the first thing you should do is change out those tires, because those are way too skinny for this kind of supercar, the level of speeds it can achieve. And McLaren put those tires on this vehicle because they want it to be very playful. But when you make the tires wider, like the setup that I have right here in this car, the grip just goes right up and it feels so confidence-inspiring. And for a quick rundown, LT actually means, it stands for long tail, which the cars, they aren't that much longer than the vehicles they're based on. Like this vehicle is based on the 570S McLaren, and the 765LT is based on the 720S. Nonetheless, they are actually longer, very, very non-significantly. The front end has a larger front splitter that goes out further. Also, when it comes to the rear of the vehicle, you have a brand new crazy diffuser. I can hear motorcycles go up and down this mountain. We're gonna have so much fun. Just real quick, though, one last thing. When you look at this diffuser, what do you think of it? It looks like an actual race car. Race car? Yep, that is exactly what we're dealing with right here. So the aerodynamics for this car is just unreal. But one major difference is that, well, we don't actually have active aero. This vehicle right here, the 600LT, has a fixed rear wing, but we have the vertical exhaust pipes. So the sounds that the cars are making, we're gonna probably hear this car even louder, but we're gonna find out again. To be honest with you, I don't think we're gonna see a difference with downforce on roads like this. Downforce majorly becomes apparent when you go to a high-speed racetrack, a track like Willow Springs, because the faster you go, that increased air pressure is be pushing down harder on the vehicle. So on these roads, you're not gonna see a big difference, I don't think. But on the track, though, that will be very interesting to find out how the 765LT compares to this. So stay posted for that one. It should be a lot of fun. But one thing this car cannot do that the 765 can do is use that active rear wing to air brake and then lower for straightaways, which in turn will make the 765LT a lot faster in straightaways because all that aerodynamics are just becoming flat to the car, making it cut through the air much easier. So and then the braking zones, that should be an interesting test. Nonetheless, so fundamentally, this car also is on a different suspension setup than the 765LT. That being, this is your normal conventional suspension, that being double wishbone adaptive dampers. The 765 has a hydraulic suspension, so that is a signature suspension setup setup from McLaren that you're not gonna have in this. Basically though, both cars weigh almost the same, sub 3,000 pounds. So let's get inside and find out how it drives in comparison. This is it, driving the 600LT, and I mean, instantly, when you get inside this car, what you notice that the visibility is just perfect. And then when you start winding it out, there's no one really home down low, right? Because it's a turbocharged V8. But nonetheless, once you start winding it out, the car comes alive, especially depending on what mode you have it in. Just comes alive. Man, see, that's what I'm talking about. So instantly, when you start winding out this car, you hear the bangs and the pops in each shift. And you get those whiplash effects, just like the 765LT. And it's so much fun. Oh my gosh. The 765LT in this feel basically the exact same on a mountain road like this. I think you'd really notice the extra horsepower on a high-speed track. This car is so much fun. The way it's so agile, the way it changes direction is unreal. Right now I have it in track handling, but a sport powertrain, and that's what's giving us those whiplashes on each upshift. It is so addicting. I can't stop smiling. But you see why I am in love with this car. It's not the hydraulic suspension. This is a more conventional suspension setup. So when you get inside of it, it feels natural to you. You're used to it. And then when you get into the corners, you feel the brakes to really rotate this car because it doesn't have a normal differential like other cars, a limited slip differential. So it uses the brakes to apply in each corner to really get the car to rotate hard. And then getting on the power, as long as you know what you're doing and you're understanding weight transfer, it can accelerate so hard out of corners. However, the active aero on the 765LT really offers so many advantages. The thing about the 765 is that when you get inside of it, you got to take a second to analyze and figure out what's going on. Because on straightaways, for example, when it lowers that back wing, you're losing downforce in the tail end. And the car is always actively trying to adapt to any situation. So on a high-speed straightaway, the wing goes down. For a braking zone, the wing goes up in air brakes. Or in a corner, the wing goes up and holds a very steep degree of an angle to give you steady downforce. So with that car, you got to realize in what predicament where that grip and downforce is going to be. With this vehicle, you always have that rear wing there, so no matter what happens, if you go on high speed, let's say 140 miles an hour, and you have to make a quick, you know, just reaction, the wing is going to be up at all times. So it's interesting looking at the different variables and factors that go into play with either car. One last point I want to highlight regarding the active aero. When you look at tracks like Buttonwillow, that track does have some pretty decent straightaways here and there, but a lot of hard braking zones, and then just momentum that you got to keep. So when you look at the 720S versus the 600LT, well, the 720S is actually slower than the 600LT around that track, even though the 720S has active aero, it has more horsepower. So my question is, what margin of a performance benefit do you really see with active aerodynamics? I know for straightaways it helps a lot, but elsewhere it's something very just unique to think about. The number one thing you notice with this car is that it feels so light, it feels so agile, and it gives you just the right amount of horsepower, I feel like, that you're always kind of doing something with your right foot, and you're not afraid that you're going to give too much power. Does that make any sense? Hope it does. It just, the balance, I'd say, with the grip, the downforce, the braking capability, and just the way it accelerates is unreal. It feels so confidence-inspiring, and the seats just make it so much better as well. So in general, the best way I think I can describe this car is if we look at like the GT3 RS and the GT2 RS, or like the GT350R Mustang and then the GT500 Trackback. So starting out with the GT350R, when you drive that car, it's a manual, and right away shifting gears makes it come alive and makes it so much fun to drive. But then even better, the car uses a flat plane crank V8 in a res past 8,000 RPM, and it gives you about 526 horsepower, but for that car and its weight, it feels like the perfect matchup. The braking capability, the way it corners, it is just such a fun driver's car. Now, you also have the GT500 Trackback that comes with 760 horsepower, tons of grip, crazy aero, and a dual clutch. Even though the Trackback is so much faster in every way compared to the 350R, people still gravitate towards the GT350R and the 500 vice versa. So what I'm trying to say is that I think the 600LT is more of like a GT350R. The visceral driving experience that doesn't give you too much in the sense of it just can't handle itself. And then the 765LT is like the GT500 Trackback, the almighty, the all crazy with the acceleration supercar. I think you can equally own a 600LT and a 765LT, because when you hop inside one car and then the other, the experience is just so vastly different. That's the best way I can put it. So you may want to still buy a GT3 RS and a GT2 RS. They're so different. Here's my summary then. Driving this car up and down this mountain just now. Handling compared to the 765LT. Well, in the corners, I got to be honest, this felt more connected to me. But I think a lot of it has to do with the track camber I put on, the -3 degrees of camber, and also the wide, sticky R compound. The 765 I was driving didn't have the R compound to fail R's. On close, just cornering tracks, that's all about momentum, like Buttonwillow. I think the lap time gap would be very close, because the fastest lap time for a 600LT at Buttonwillow Raceway is 1 minute and 45 seconds. And then the Senna, with almost 2,000 pounds of downforce and 800 horsepower, that car is only 2 seconds faster than this, 1:43 it got. So in summary, I think that acceleration past, I'd say, 90 to 100 miles an hour, that's where you'll notice how much faster 765 is, than just, down the quarter mile or high-speed racetracks. Other than that, on the street, on canyon roads, on tight tracks, it's all about cornering, I think they're gonna be pretty close to each other, which I do want to test that out. But I still want to buy a 765LT. I want to get one so badly. So I'm gonna keep this, so cross my fingers we can try to achieve one of those sometime soon. But before I make up my mind on that, I do want to drive the new SF90 or even look into the new 296 GTB Ferrari that is hybrid, because the new Ferrari is coming out. I mean, with their hybrid powertrain, they are just so fast. In summary, please let me know, what do you think in the comment section down below? How does this compare to a 765LT? I'm such major fans of both. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button to help me out. Also subscribe for much more great McLaren content coming out your way. I'll see all of you in the next episode.